Brock Purdy lives with a roommate. He drives his old Toyota Sequoia. He's pretty good, baby. And with MVP CMC, George the Block King Kittle, Devo's wide, beautiful back, Brandon Ayuk, who's about to take off into the land of the greatest wide receivers of all time, and Nick Bosa's NFL leading quarterback pressures, plus all pro every year Fred, and every other monster we carry on this roster. This is going to be a tough group to wrangle in for them boys. I'm rocking my cowboy boots this weekend at the NFL London game in the UK at Tottenham Stadium, but I'm going to be flying back just in time to Italy for the night game against the Cowboys, which I believe is arguably the game of the year this season. Yeehaw, mofos! It's Cowboys week, baby. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Cryssy, and this is Crystal Ballin, a weekly show in which I preview the 49ers schedule by interviewing an analyst from the opposing team each week, with a sprinkle of spicy start and sit suggestions for your fantasy lineups too. Whether you're watching on the tube or listening on Spotify, I appreciate the hell out of you. I've had this game circled on my calendar since the schedule release. We all remember who took the Cowboys out of the playoffs last year and the year before. Plus that pitiful last drive from them boys. They are looking for redemption in this one. We haven't played them in the regular season for a while. I can't even remember the last time. But these kind of rivalries date back to the days when I wasn't even a thought. We're 19-19 with them, and this is going to be a good one. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've got an incredible guest with me. He's going to be breaking down everything Cowboys with me. I'm so excited. Look, I could sit here and make fun of the fact that the Dallas Cowboys star isn't a logo. It's rating. I could roast Dak Prescott for having the same amount of wins in the playoffs as Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's only had one season behind him, not even a full season because he got thrown in there. Instead, I've decided to bring on a friend of the program. Well, he's a guy I've gotten pretty cheeky with over the past few seasons. He's the host of CFO Sports, the voice of ESPN Radio in Kansas City, and an NFL and draft analyst. Everyone, please give a mini cheer to my guy, Jay Tuck.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. How's it going?
Good. Can't complain. I guess I'm behind enemy lines, as they would say in 49ers country. But besides that, not too bad at all. I'm ready for Sunday night's matchup.
Same. I'm honestly feeling a little sick about it. I even tweeted this out earlier. I threw up earlier today, which was great, but that's just how it goes. I get so anxious.
Why are you the nervous one? I should be the nervous one. I should be the one feeling sick. I mean, because the past 2 years, I had to walk out that stadium with my head low because the 49ers beat the Cowboys. So if anyone should be feeling sick, it should be me, not you. You should be feeling good right now.
Okay, but what was that Jimmy Butler quote? That's like, you go to a test and every time, like, eventually you're going to pass it, right? Even when you fail. So, like, that's the vibe that I have with this game. That's like, okay, you guys, yeah, we may have beat you the last 2 seasons in the playoffs, but, like, this isn't the playoffs. This is regular season. We know you guys come to play in the regular season. So it's going to be a good one. But before we get into that, and I know I all my followers are going to be like, oh my God, you threw up. That's just how I am. I'm very anxious. I love football to a T, and it's just how I am. But anyways, before we get into that, I do want to kind of get into your backstory, your journey to who you are and how you got to where you are today and everything. Before we get to that, though, I see you're in Kansas City, obviously. How the heck did you become a Cowboys fan living there?
Yeah, so funny story. I actually grew up in Oklahoma for a little bit when I was young. So I was born in Oklahoma. And so in Oklahoma, it's a huge Cowboys footprint because you're so close. So I was just, born and raised a Cowboys fan. And even when I was young, the Dallas Cowboys used to have their camp at the University of Texas in Austin, and I currently lived in Austin at the time. So I have like young photos of me and Troy Aikman when I was a kid. So Dallas Cowboys football is all I ever know, and probably all I will ever be able to cheer for. Even though I'm in Chiefs country, it's hard being a Cowboys fan, especially with all the confetti that's been dropping here lately in town. It's so funny because everyone's like, do you go to the parades or Super Bowl parties? Like, no, absolutely not. I'm in my house and I'm probably asleep by third quarter. I could, even though Chiefs are like my Cowboys cousin and they did me a huge favor by beating the Eagles last year, it was just like, hey, let all my friends go out and celebrate. But if it's not Dallas Cowboys football related, I really do not care. But I became a Dallas Cowboys fan. I just always grew up. It's the only team I've ever known and loved. And they put me through a lot of good times, but a lot of bad.
Yeah. Oh, I feel you on that. Okay. And you're also doing a lot of big things. You're a football reporter. You host your own badass YouTube channel, which I've checked out and I love. You're also on ESPN Radio. So how did you get to where you are today in this industry?
Yeah, great question. So I really started doing content in 2020 during the pandemic. And funny thing, a lot of people see my interactions on Twitter, and I was doing the same thing on Twitter, just talking to people, right? But no one really cared. But then in 2020, I had a lot of people was like, you need to start a YouTube channel, start a YouTube channel. I was like, absolutely not. Well, the pandemic kind of stopped us where we couldn't do anything
Mhm.
but start a YouTube channel. So I ended up starting a channel and been extremely blessed and fortunate with the platform Cowboys fans, but not just Cowboys fans, just NFL fans have given me. So it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it. I love enjoy talking to football fans from all over. Even here in Kansas City and covering the draft. The draft is really my true passion. I love just scouting young players and finding nuggets for all teams. So it's been a huge blessing and it's something I enjoy. I know you're passionate about it too. So I can't really say how I got here, but I'm just fortunate to be here and I'm definitely enjoying every minute of it. But I tell people it's just hard work, a lot of sacrifice, and enjoying what you do.
I love that. I think that's actually how I started following you as well was, the Twitter obviously during the pandemic. I ramped up my game with it a little bit too. And like you see other people that are so passionate about their sport and their team. And it's like you can't help but follow them, even though, yes, we cheer for very opposing teams. It's still fun to like be cheeky with each other and just like feel like you're at the game, even if you're just, sitting on your couch watching the game from afar. It's amazing. And I really have enjoyed following you that for that reason. So thank you
Likewise.
for being the way that you are.
Likewise. And it definitely helps through the off season because the off season we all know can be dry, but
Ah,
there's
yeah.
never a dull moment on Twitter, from any NFL fan base. There's always something going on. And I think it's just collaborative effort, putting all of our best
Mhm.
ideas because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want our teams to win, right? So we're
Yeah.
hearing things from the 49ers. So for personally, if I have questions about the 49ers, I'm peeking in and seeing what Crystal's talking about, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes 49ers fans, when they know what's going on with the Cowboys, they might peek in and see what I'm talking about. And so it just opened up what I call new media is that we have a lot of individuals that kind of comes from a social media platform, but they're very knowledgeable about their team and they specialize in their team. If you ask me what's going on with the Bengals right now, I'm probably like, I really don't know. But when it comes to the Cowboys, I know pretty much 99.99% of what's going on with my team, and it makes us very unique in our space.
You're the guy that I come to for all Cowboys news, by the way. So it's funny you mentioned that.
All right, so I need to give y'all some false information today.
Oh God. No, no, you gotta give the good stuff. I came to you for the good. You also attend a lot of Cowboys games and everything. I see your amazing swag that you get yourself set up in. I respect it. I hate the colors, but it's fine. Of all the games that you've been to, which has been your most memorable?
That's a good question. I think back, I can't remember, it's a 2017 years or 2018. It was at AT&T Stadium versus New Orleans Saints. It was a Thursday night game. And that has supposed to have been the game where Des Bryant was going to return to Dallas as a New Orleans
Mm.
Saint, but unfortunately he had the injury to his Achilles. But it was just a great environment. The Saints were undefeated at the time, and they were pretty much the team that everyone was afraid of in the NFL. And the Cowboys came out and played with their hair on fire. But another good game, to be honest with you, even though we lost last year at Levi Stadium, I had a blast. Surprisingly, it was my first time out there. And I
Really?
had so many 49ers fans come up to me like, oh, yo, are you that Jay Tuck guy? I'm like, oh, okay. I was by myself. I'm like, all right, what's really going on? And they were
Yeah.
like, oh, we recognize you from TikTok. And I was like, TikTok, I really, but they saw my video that I posted on TikTok. And what they loved most is that I was just being unbiased. I was just telling, like I
Mm.
saw the positives about the game, the negatives about the game. I wasn't just being a fandom. That's kind of how I call it. I call it just down the line. And so, 49ers fans were very hospitable. They invited me to their tailgate. We had oysters, all sorts of stuff. It was a great
Jeez.
time out there in Levi Stadium until after the game, right? But
Yeah.
I would say those are probably my two memorable games that I've been to. Of course, the ones versus the Eagles when we blew them out on or beat them on Christmas was always a pleasantry. But I definitely had enjoyed myself at Levi. Wish I was gonna be there this Sunday. But
Oh,
my mom,
same.
I go to every Cowboys game with my mother because she's the one who raised me as a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to go to San Fran. She wants to go to SoFi. So we're going to SoFi instead of San Fran. But I was trying to get down there and make a double trip to California, but mom won this time.
Okay, that I love that relationship, by the way. So I just had a daughter about 7 months ago now, and I
Yeah.
want to have that exact same relationship with her, where I'm getting her into the football games and bringing her to them and everything. I wanted to try and get to a game this season. I don't know if it's going to happen because
Yeah.
her passport hasn't come in yet. Italy is very behind with it, but how's that been? I guess this is a bonus question. How's it been? Having that experience with your mom.
It's been amazing. It's something I always cherish. And going back to the pandemic, right? It put a lot of things in perspective because when everything was going on, all I wanted to do was just be with my family. Like I didn't care about work. I didn't care about anything but just being with my family. And I tell my viewers all the time, I had a vision board and I just had season tickets, like they were pinned up in my board in my office outside there. And I just looked like one day I'm gonna get these season tickets. So the only thing that kept me sane was just saving up, saving up, saving up through the pandemic. And I was like, if I get through this healthy and we get this healthy as a family, me and my mom, we're gonna get season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys and we're gonna go to every game that we can and enjoy ourselves and just, enjoy our time together. So as soon as everything kind of cleared back up, we were there, got our season tickets. So I've been a season ticket holder for 3 years. She actually moved from Kansas City to Dallas right before the
Wow.
pandemic. So it also gives me a time not just to see the Cowboys, but to see my mom as well. So it's something I definitely will always cherish and I love every moment. And she keeps me calm sometimes.
Yeah.
She keeps me calm a little bit, but we definitely enjoy it. So
That's very sweet. I love that. Do you so I guess you did mention that you go to games on your own sometimes. What's the vibe like that? Because I've never actually done that before, and I think it sounds like an amazing idea to do that.
yeah, honestly, it's really been a great experience for the most part. Now, there's some places, Philly, I probably would never go by myself, but honestly, in San Fran, it was a very hospitable. I mean, I sat right in the end zone, like Jerry
Mhm.
Rice was like 3 rows in front of me.
Oh, too sweet.
But I was surrounded by a bunch of 49ers fans, and they were very hospitable, buying drinks. It's all about, how do you behave? It's just like I tell people because you always see the riffraff online. It's like, well, hell, I'm
Mhm.
not going to be loud and obnoxious and drunk when I'm by myself in a home field. Like it's just, the way you conduct yourself. So,
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all about, because a lot of people, 98% of people who go to NFL games, they're just there to cheer on their team. They're not there for the riff raff. We're all grown adults for the most part. So yeah, I really never felt like, oh man, by myself, what's really going on? So yeah, it's always been very enjoyable to me. I've gone to Cowboys games by myself, a lot of times, and you always just find other passionate Cowboys fans who are there to root on the team. So I know as a part of America's team, I'm never going to be alone. So I'm always going to find a Cowboys fan who recognizes me from somewhere. So I'll always link up and have a good time. So it's definitely a great experience.
The vibe that you put out is the vibe that you get. That's what some things that
Exactly.
I've always believed in. So yeah, that's very true.
Exactly.
Out of all of the jerseys that you own or even Cowboys gear in general, which one is your favorite?
Oh, my favorite is one I haven't worn yet. And I just
Ooh,
got it the other day, and I'm actually going to wear it in SoFi next week. But it's the
nice.
throwback Deion Sanders with the blue stars.
Ah,
I've been wanting I had this jersey when I was a kid, and it really symbolizes when I was a Cowboys fan because a lot of people don't
mhm.
understand. You see Coach Prime right now, but like when think about what Dion's doing in Colorado. Now
Oh
imagine him
God,
doing
yeah.
that as a Dallas Cowboy. So, there was video games, there was music videos and Pepsi commercials. And that jersey really symbolized, me being a Cowboys fan as a kid, where it's like, no, I want to watch this team with Dion. And I've been
Mhm.
looking for this jersey for years. I never had my size. I always had too big or too small, too big or too
Yeah.
small. And a few weeks ago, I was actually at the AT&T Stadium, just doing a tour, doing some promo stuff on the field. And they had a little pro shop. And I was walking around. My mom's like, there goes the Dion jerseys. So I looked triple X, double X, extra large, small, medium. I was like, I just need a large. I was like, man, I'm never going to find this jersey. And the very last one in the back of the rack was a large Dion jersey. I grabbed it, swiped the card, like, I'm taking it right now. So
Meant to
I would
be.
say that's probably my favorite jersey. I haven't put it on yet, but it just symbolizes a lot for me as a Cowboys fan.
Oh, I'm excited to see you wear that one. That sounds amazing. He has done incredible. I was just gonna say, I never followed college football. Like that wasn't my thing. Like coming from Canada, I just didn't get into it. But he is making me a believer, and I love what he's doing in Colorado. He's
Yeah,
yeah. So big
it's
shout out
amazing.
to
I love
Coach
Dion.
Prime.
Love Dion.
Yeah, me too. Okay,
The
so
funny
this is
story
such a
about Dion, right? Because as a kid, he played for San Francisco, but he also played for the Cowboys. So,
Yeah.
I always tell the story where it's like I was very close to possibly growing up as a 49ers fan, because back in the day when I was going on, all my friends were 49ers fans, and I was the sole Cowboys fan at
Ooh.
school. So I was probably third or fourth grade, right? So
Yeah.
they had Morton Hanks and Charles Haley and Ricky Waters and all those, Steve Young. So I could easily went over to that side, but it's like something just telling me stay. But
Yeah.
honestly, I'd probably been in the same situation either way I went. So, but yeah, I love this rivalry. That's why I'm so excited about Sunday night.
I do too. Do you have any regrets of choosing the team that you did?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, good.
I would say like, because it isn't like the 49ers that have this, great success after that as well. We're both kind of fighting for the same thing for the Super Bowl
Yeah.
victory. The one thing I really kind of admire about the San Francisco 49ers, especially when I was out there at Levi, is that you guys kind of kept your rough and rugged type of mentality and culture. Like your stadium was
Mm.
rocking. You had the boom box. You had that chant first
Love it.
down, who, like I still hear it in my sleep damn near, so it's like the whole experience for a football fan at Levi compared to AT&T was night and day. And that's just
Really?
oh yes. I mean, you guys can tailgate in your parking lot, you can stand up every game. Like if me at every game, you probably see me on talking about this online. I'm asked to sit probably about 8 times a game. And I'm just like,
That's not
what is
right.
what is going on? So you guys kind of just kept that rugged culture where we kind of just
Mhm.
came very, Hollywood for some reason. That's the
Right.
one thing I would kind of regret. But overall, man, I love being a Dallas Cowboys fan. I love representing the star and everything the star represents. So,
I like to ask this question to all my guests. If you could go for a beer or any kind of drink with any current or former Cowboy, who would it be and why?
hmm. Well, I kind of did it. So salute to Des Bryant. So,
Ah!
yeah, Des Bryant was like one of my all-time favorites. And funny story. Last year at the draft in Vegas, I was just walking through the casino, and my best friend was like, "Hey, man, there goes Des Bryant." And me trying to be cool guy, I'm like, I'm just gonna let him go. It's just
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
And he was like, "Man, it's Des Bryant." Like, bro, that's your favorite player of all time. Like, just go talk to him. So I went and got the picture. And he was like, my friend was like, "Man, you always said if you ever met Dez, you would ask him one question." And I was like, "No, man, he's busy. I'm just gonna let." He's like, "You might not never get this chance in a lifetime to ask him." So I go up to Dez. And the funny story about all of it is me, Dez Bryant, and Ja Rule, the rappers, like right there. And I'm just ignoring
Wow.
Ja Rule like he's just, a random fan, right?
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, Ja, what's going on?" Like, so I talked to Dez and I asked him the question. He's like, "Man, you got a second?" So we sit down for a little bit, talked. You followed me on Twitter. We kind of built this relationship where you may have saw us playing Madden versus each other versus he
Yeah.
cheated. But it's just like one of those things. So I would say he would probably be that player. And then outside of that, I would probably say currently Micah Parsons. I would love to sit down
Okay.
with Micah Parsons and chill. Because Micah Parsons is a very people person. You can't see that jersey back there. So,
Yeah.
Micah is just a very down to earth person. I just posted that I got that his Pro Bowl rookie jersey on Instagram, just posted it on my timeline, didn't tag him or anything. He reached out to me and was like, "Yo, bro, send that to me so I can
Oh,
sign it and
wow.
autograph for you." I was like, at first, a little skeptical, like, "All right, let me double check,
Is
everything."
this him?
Yeah, yeah, all right, yeah, And honestly, when I sent the jersey to the facility, it kind of sat there for a few weeks. I'm starting to get nervous, like, man, I lost this jersey. It kind of shows the type of person that Micah is. He's very just down to earth. Met him a few times when I was out at camp, and he's just like you and me. He just can, get 14, 15 sacks in a season and an
Yeah.
unstoppable, unblockable force. But salute to Micah. So that would probably be my pick.
Oh, I love that. You know what? I've been watching some of his podcasts. I'm not going to lie. I have more respect for him now than I did last season just because of, some of the things that he said, even about the Niners this season. I have a question for you later about it too. But it's just, he's done a 180 in my mind. I really like him. I love what he's doing on his podcast. He's a cool dude. So I respect that.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to shift over to the game now because I feel like we have to talk about this game. I'm like literally throwing up over it, like I said.
Don't get sick on me.
And okay, this is something before we totally get into the game. I need to know your opinion on this because it was a big topic, obviously, for the 49ers and for us. Like, you guys took one of our guys, Trey Lance. He was traded over there. He's the trader. Just kidding.
Right.
So he's apparently been giving you guys some insight about, the 49ers. And do you think that this is something that maybe Mike McCarthy is going to use in his game at all? Is he going to use any of the intel that Trey is going to be bringing?
I highly doubt it. I think that's just something that a lot of football fans just think naturally is going to happen, right? So last week when we played versus the Patriots, that Zeke and Will Greer was going to give Bill Belichick all our
Oh,
offensive
God,
plays, and you
yeah.
see how that ended up, right? So it's just
Right.
like NFL teams are smart enough to adapt to that. I feel like when it comes to Trey, I was very excited about the move
Mm.
initially. And the reason why I was
Oh,
hesitant is because I thought it's like, hey, we're just getting a backup quarterback to replace Cooper Rush. Because me personally, I'm not very high on Cooper Rush, even though I thank him for what he did last year. I
yeah.
just don't think he's the guy. So I was very excited about it. I dropped numerous videos like, yo, we got Trey Lance, like what a steal, this and that. And then I heard Jerry Jones come out and talk and kind of let me know that there's possibly some ulterior motive with Dak Prescott in his contract. So it's kind of like leverage, and it's like,
Okay.
that's what I don't like, So, overall, I think Trey Lance is a phenomenal player. I just think that, with injuries, and he just hasn't gotten his opportunity to prove himself. And a lot of people, want to kind of him down. It's like a bust, like he hasn't gotten the opportunity. But let's be honest, the 49ers knew that he was a project player. They knew he was going through a
Yeah.
COVID year. He only played one game. So he is who he is. Like no one
Mhm.
thought Trey Lance was going to hit the ground and become Pat Mahomes out the gate. It was going to take some years to build up, just like with any young quarterback. So, I know this is a narrative that he's a bust and, this and this and that. I just think he's just a kid who's very young, hasn't gotten a lot of reps, and just, possibly the 49ers got lucky and found Brock Purdy in the 7th round so they could
Very
move
lucky.
on for him and still get value. But I think there's going to be a lot of good playing days behind Trey Lance. Now, will that be as a starter of Dallas or somewhere else? We do not know. But I love the move. I love Trey as a player, even though a lot of Cowboys fans and media disagree. I just didn't like the motive because Jerry Jones
Right.
came out in an interview and was like talking about contracts and all sorts. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay, all right. So, all right. So,
so
but
it's kind of lighting a fire under Dak to be like, okay, no, like you're gonna have this new kid come through. Is
yeah,
that what you think?
it's kind of like a leverage play, right? Because they're in
Yeah.
contract negotiations. I think they want a lengthy deal with Dak. Dak kind of wants a short-term deal.
Right.
There was possibly talks of getting the deal done this summer. A deal didn't get done, so they're probably saying, you know what? How about I go get this young kid and we can develop him, and maybe that will
Ooh.
light a fire under Dak. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like you have a girl you want to take to the dance and she tells you no. Well, you try to bring someone to make her jealous, and you're looking at this girl like, it's just like I hate that type of mindset.
Yeah.
Because it just causes so much shadows and turmoil in Dallas.
Oh,
Let's do it for the right reason. And when Jerry Jones said he didn't talk to Mike McCarthy, his scouts, or anyone who's picked up the phone and did it, I was
mm.
like, okay, there has to be more to the story, which I think there is, but we shall see.
Well, it's Jerry's world, right?
Right, Jerry's world, right? We're all just living in
Literally.
it, right? We're all just living in it.
Yeah. Okay, so I watch a lot of Stephen A. Smith. He can be rowdy and he has a lot of takes that I don't
Yeah.
necessarily agree with. But he's technically the loudest when it comes to the Cowboys. You always see him like laughing after a game, like wearing his hat, whatever it may be. And he's always got the magnifying glass over Dak Prescott. Whenever he gets sacked, whenever he throws a pick, whatever it may be, Stephen A. is like going on 5-10 minute long rants about Dak. What do you think about Dak? Honest opinion.
I love Dak. Is Dak the best quarterback in the NFL? No, but I would say he's probably in top 6, top 7. And I think that's where it gets, frustrating for a lot of Cowboys fans because the conversation surrounding Dak is never consistent. And that's why you see us kind of vocal a lot online. So, Josh Allen, he threw 3 interceptions versus the Jets. You didn't hear a peep about it.
Yeah.
People talk about Dak Prescott's 17 interceptions last year, but they don't talk about 6 or 7 of them that bounced off the wide receiver's hands. They don't talk about how bad it was to trade Amari Cooper with no backup plan. Like they don't talk about these types of things that they give other quarterbacks passes for. So, I just think that, I get it because we are the star. And like I said, we're very Hollywood. They know where their money is made. And talking about the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott, it's the easiest way to get engagement. But I feel like what I'm liking most about Cowboys Nation is we finally got people with platforms such as myself and many others saying, actually, that's false. We got stats now. Like it used to be, hey, we heard this guy on TV. He said this about this quarterback. It must be the truth. I can go on Google and look it up and say, actually, that's false. So right now people are saying that Dak doesn't throw down the field. Well, he's number 7th in deep yardage passing this season. So it's like, so it's like those types of things, right? So he only has one interception thus far when others have 6 and 7. So it's like, that's the thing. It's just the inconsistency when it comes to Dak and some of the criticism. Now, is some criticism warranted? Absolutely, but you have to keep it even for every player. Don't change the narratives. I saw Gerald McCoy is a great guy, great friend of mine, but he said he was naming his elite quarterbacks. And he said that he can't call Dak elite because he has a history of turning the ball over. Okay, cool. And the very next quarterback he lists was Josh Allen, who really has a history of turning the ball over. I'm like, so it's just some of those things, but I just think Dak gets it unfair. But you have to understand he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. It's just naturally come with the business and the money.
Yeah, I agree. So Nick Bosa, he's the highest graded edge rusher. PFF just put this out that he's got a 93.8. Your guy, DeMarcus Lawrence, right behind him, which is awesome. How do you think Dak will fare against Bosa and the rest of the defensive linemen?
Well, I think it'll be a lot better, hopefully. Now, it's only Thursday, and I just dropped a video about this. So this Sunday might be the first time since 2021 where we can see our starting offensive line together with Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. We had so much overturn with the offensive line. It's kind of like, all right, I feel like that's what really hurt us in the playoffs last year versus the 49ers. So, this game is going to be won in the trenches. You're going to need your best offensive line versus the defensive front of Nick Bosa. So I think it should be a lot better. Under this Mike McCarthy West Coast, Tex Coast offense, Dak Prescott is getting the ball out of his hands a whole lot quicker than last year. I think he's like at 2.2 seconds in the pocket versus like 2.7 last year, something like that. Some nerdy stat that I'll be looking up, stuff like that, right? But he's getting the ball out a lot quicker. So I think that he might be better versus the 49ers front this upcoming game than he was last year. So that's something I'm definitely going to keep an eye out. But if Tyron Smith doesn't give a go, then you have a guy like Chima Udoga on Nick Bosa, and then it's just going to be like, then I'm going to throw up with you. So,
okay, so I would have loved to see both of our teams at full health. Like there are some guys on our side of the ball, some guys on yours, but there's one that fully stands out for me. It's Trayvon Diggs obviously isn't there. It's funny, you mentioned the draft. I was at that draft too, and I went to Des Bryant's event that he was holding for Personal Corner, and Diggs was there and he was playing Madden and everything. And I'm there watching. It was the craziest thing. And Des came up and was like, "Hey, Chris," came up to me, and he follows me on Twitter too, and I thought it was the craziest, just amazing. I got to ham it up with him a little bit just because my brother-in-law is a big Cowboys fan too. So I was like, oh my God, my brother-in-law's a Cowboys fan. This is crazy. He's gonna be like, whoa. But it was really cool. Anyways, back to Diggs. What impact, if any, do you think that Diggs's absence has on the team?
It has a lot. And I feel like what happened versus the Cardinals, it was an emotional thing. And I know a lot of people were saying, hey, these are athletes. They're supposed to, I felt sick. And I only met Diggs a few times, but it's just it hurt because, Diggs is a guy who's been working his tail off. There's been a lot of lazy narratives about him. And he really took a leap this camp and this offseason to become the guy. He just got his money that was well-deserved. He was playing well. And then that happened. It was just I cried, it just really hurt. So, I feel like it took the wind out of our team versus, the Cardinals, where you can be too emotionally charged sometimes. I'm gonna win it for my brother. But I think that on the backside, it does hurt because I'm really not sure who is going to be our speed corner. We got Jordan Lewis back. Deron Bland, who's a second-year guy, who's a fifth-round pick, is playing outstanding. He had 2 interceptions last week versus the Patriots. But, the Patriots wide receiver core versus the 49ers or Philly, it's a lot different. So, we're definitely going to keep our eye on it because it changes a lot. Let's be honest. When a quarterback, drops back to throw and he sees 7 back there, he has to take a second thought, which can lead to pressure, which can lead to sacks. Will that still be the case? Remains to be unseen. So I think it was a huge blow. I think losing Trayvon Diggs takes our defense from being special to being good. We were on a special pace. Was hey, with him and Gilmore and Deron Bland and Jordan Lewis and our safeties, being a truly special all-time great defense to being all right, we can be good. We can be good. But they're gonna have to adapt. So next man up mentality, and we saw that last week. Hopefully that continues.
Last year, we saw a lot of quotes out of Micah Parsons this is who we wanted. He's talking about the Niners, obviously. This season, he's showing a lot more respect, like I said earlier, and he's impressed with CMC. I mean, who isn't? He
Right.
went off about Drake Jackson, saying, you know, like a lot of people, how are they not talking about this guy? Which I agree. He said kind of what we're all feeling, like Cowboys, 49ers, there's nothing better. What do you expect out of Parsons this weekend?
I expect Parsons to try to make a statement game. And I think that, you know, this game is going to be more important for the Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers, right? Because I feel like even if the 49ers lose, they're still confident that, hey, if we have to go back to Levi or that they come to Dallas, they probably could still win that playoff game. But I just think getting over the mental hump, because we all know the last team you probably lose to, that's the one you think about the most. Like for you guys, it's probably Philadelphia.
The Eagles,
that game, you're going to be up at charge ready to smoke them and say, no, if we had Brock Purdy, you guys wouldn't even went to Arizona. So I think it's the same thing for the Cowboys. It's like they really want to send the message. And I think that seeing the national coverage pretty much just count the Cowboys out like they're just chopped liver. I think it's going to set another fire under them. So I am expecting Micah Parsons to come out and have a big game, but it's going to be how Dan Quinn decides to utilize him. Don't just have him going off, you know, Trent Williams' side trying to win that battle, because absolutely not. You know, you might get him once, but majority of times Trent is not going to let you get the best of him. So I want him to really be moved around from linebacker, left side, right side, all over as a chess piece. But I expect Micah to have a big game because he knows on the other side of the ball that Bosa money he just mentioned, that's what he's after. So in order to kind of, you know, show yourself and show improve to be defensive player of the year candidate, and these are the games you really have to show up and show out. So I expect a big day from Micah Parsons.
And okay, you kind of touched on this a little bit just with the Cardinals and how we were talking about Diggs. How big of a deal is that loss to the Cardinals, if any?
I mean, the only way it could be a big loss is we'll probably see at the end of the season. Because even if you go back to last year, a lot of the stupid losses that the Cowboys had, like the Jacksonville Jaguars where we blew a lead, or the Green Bay Packers where we blew a lead, it really hurt us in the capacity that, you know, Jalen Hurts got hurt at the end of the year. And so, you know, maybe the NFC East would have been a little bit tighter, that, hey, if you wouldn't have lost these two stupid games where you had no business actually losing, then maybe that we're the number one seed. And maybe, you know, San Francisco's coming to Dallas for the last game and we get to play Daniel Jones. You know, so like those little things can change things. So we won't really know. I'm kind of good that it got out their blood early, because I think from the Cowboys have to understand is to really have a championship mentality and mindset, the little teams that you think really doesn't care on, those teams are going to play you hard. Like it's easy to get up Sunday night, San Francisco 49ers, rivalry tied 19-19. They beat you 2 times. Like these are the games that are easiest. But the teams where you play, you know, like these little smaller teams like the Cardinals, who you think is tanking, but they're still playing well, and possibly the Commanders and Giants, like those are the games that still counts and still matters as well. And you can't take your foot off the gas. So, you know, overall, I won't be able to say. I think that it put blood in their mouth, but they know, okay, you can't come out here slacking. And also, they really got exposed from the run game, from the run defense aspect. So maybe that's going to help them Sunday night versus Christian McCaffrey, because I know Shanahan's going to run the ball, rain, sleet, or snow. So they better be prepared for it.
It's funny you say that. The trap games are always the ones that I worry about the most. Like everyone, when they're looking at the schedule, they're like, oh, this game, this. I'm like, no, like I was worried about the Cardinals, especially after you guys lost to them. I was like, oh no, like it's happening to us too.
Yeah,
but,
I can fully see the Cowboys coming out beating San Fran, maybe beat them by 2 touchdowns, and then mess around and get blown out at home by the Rams. Like something stupid. Like that's how the Cowboys always do. You know, it's just like, I don't know. You're sitting there thinking, why did we do?
So then there's that narrative in like the national media where everyone's like, well, they lost to this team, right?
Right.
Like we lost to the Bears. Like, no, we lost to the Bears last year. Obviously, it didn't matter too much in the end, but I mean, they haven't done very well since. But anyways, before I get to your 3 keys to the game, I do want to know, since you do a lot of draft scouting and all that, did you have Brock Purdy on your radar at all?
Yes, I did. So I actually covered the Kansas Jayhawks, covered the Big 12. So I was very familiar with Brock Purdy. When I watched Brock Purdy, I saw arm talent, because he was throwing the ball over the place at Iowa State. You know, but did I think that he was going to adapt this fast? No, but I know that Kyle Shanahan always simplifies the offenses for his quarterback. So, you know, he has the arm talent. So I even said in my video yesterday, I was like, people call him Mr. Irrelevant, but he was very irrelevant in college football. I just don't think that he really just had the size that a lot of NFL teams like.
Yeah.
But the arm strength, like there's no throw that Brock Purdy really can't make. And he's pretty much flawless going through his progressions, even though as a young player. So, I like Brock Purdy coming out of Iowa State. And I feel like he's doing well for you guys. He's in the perfect system, and he doesn't have to be the guy. And he's perfectly fine with just managing the game. And when it's time to make a play, he's making those plays and making those throws. So I like Brock Purdy for what he's doing to you guys. And I feel like you guys got a steal in the 7th round.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the biggest guys that I compare, well, obviously he's nothing like this guy, so please nobody take this out of context. But obviously the game manager thing is something that I've seen a lot. A lot of people are, coming at him being like, oh, he's a game manager. People can't win with a game manager. Tom Brady was game manager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can get the job done with that type of guy, especially in an offense like Kyle Shanahan's, where you're, running the ball more, where you're not so focused on that elite quarterback. You saw we won games, no problem with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I mean, like, he definitely wasn't elite, right? So yeah, I like what I'm seeing out of Purdy, and it's cool that you had him on your radar too. So
yeah, and people put this lazy narrative as like game manager. I was like, that's smart. If you have an elite defense, what you have elite run game. I just need my quarterback to not lose the game, and he's high in QBR. He doesn't turn over the ball much. Like that's all he needs to be. Like he doesn't need to throw 38, 40 times a game for the 49ers to win. They have their formula. They have their system that works for them. Let them be that. And I think it's just game manager. Like he's winning games though. So, it's just laziness sometimes from the national media, but
laziness. And they just want to have that clickbait. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm seeing like Nick Wright, I think it is, keeps going at him. And it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, look at the film. He's doing just fine. But it's funny. You mentioned, the turnovers and everything. I think that you guys are going to be the one to get his first pick. I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to throw a pick on Sunday. I don't know if it'll matter in the end, but we'll see.
I hope so.
Now I'm gonna hand the game ball to you. What are J Tuck's 3 keys to getting the dub over San Francisco on Sunday?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing defensively is to stop the run, stop Christian McCaffrey. I think that they're going to try to come out and get the run game involved, and I think everything stems around the run game. And just like in the playoff game last year, like you guys didn't take your foot off the gas. Like even though Christian McCaffrey didn't have a big game, when it was time to get in the end zone, he finally broke. Is that your puppy? He's
got a cone on his head.
he finally broke through and got to the end zone. So number 1 would be containing Christian McCaffrey. Number 2 would be the turnover margin. So as you mentioned, maybe Brock Purdy would throw us an interception. Dak Prescott, our team, we can't turn over the ball because I feel like if you do that, they're going to make you pay for it. This 49ers defense, with Fred Warner and all those guys out there. So you got to play mistake-free football and not try to be a hero. And then third, I would say third key is to win the trenches. I feel like whoever wins in the trenches, offensive line versus D-line, is probably going to win the game. I feel like this is going to be a heavyweight battle where it's going to be body blows after body blows. And if your defensive line gets the best of our offensive line, you guys will probably just go out there and win this game, or vice versa. If we're able to get pressure on Purdy and actually get him, rattled and his time sped up and things like that, then I think we'll probably fare out and win this game as well. So it's going to be an old school Sunday night battle, which I'm definitely excited for, but those will be my 3 keys to victory. But the thing I'm watching for the most is Mike McCarthy moved on from Kellen Moore. This is the reason why. So let's see if there's any improvement, right? So let's see, was this a smart move to move on? You take over the play calling because, you wanted to be more, thoughtful and it was your efficiency versus teams like this. Okay, well, now it's time to show improve, because if he doesn't, Jerry Jones is probably going to come downstairs and have a little conversation. So we'll see.
Right. Okay, so I am a big fantasy football girl, and I like to give some spicy start and sit suggestions for people watching the show. For me, I'm a little hesitant against the passing game. You guys haven't given up more than, I think it's 1,000 or 100 receiving yards to an opponent this season. You only have 2 players that have scored touchdowns on you. I think it was 1 for Garrett Wilson, 1 for Marquise Brown. No other player has caught more than 1 touchdown pass against you guys, which is insane. So for me, like, I'm hesitant to put in, like a guy like Debo, a guy like Ayuk, a guy like definitely Kittle. I think Kittle's going to be utilized a little bit more as the blocker, especially with your guys' defense. So for me, obviously, I'm going to start CMC every single week. That's just how it goes. Like, we run the ball. I think it's like 53% of our plays nearly. So it's got to be him. But I also, for me, a sneaky one that I think that maybe you guys got to watch out for is Juwan Jennings. Number 15, I think, is going to put up some points. He's part of the Yak Bros. I think he's going to get those sneaky little slants and get down the field, and we'll see how your guys' D does against him.
Yeah.
But for you, looking at the Cowboys side of things, who's somebody that you're definitely starting in fantasy football this week?
Well, don't take any fancy advice from me because my team was getting their teeth kicked in right now. It's like every time I sub someone out, they have a big game. Like I subbed out DJ Moore for Tutu Atwell last week, and then
Oh
DJ Moore
no.
goes, it's just like, all right, it's a huge chaos. But I feel like this is going to be probably a CeeDee Lamb game. I feel like there was a lot of opportunity for CeeDee Lamb last game. In San Francisco, there's some missed throws. The Warner interception that was able to make the play on that. So, I think CeeDee Lamb should have a big game, but I'm expecting, because the 49ers, they play a lot of zone defensively, our tight ends, one of them, whether it's Jake Ferguson or Luke Schoonmaker, should have a decent day. Now, they've been having some issues dropping passes and dropping touchdowns, so hopefully that improves. So I would say CeeDee Lamb, and then also Jake Ferguson, but most importantly, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, who's on my team. I feel like Tony Pollard should have a big day because we should get him involved early and often on Sunday night.
And who would you sit if you're looking at the team?
I don't know, because they're probably going to clip this. I've been having the conversation. So I have Dak Prescott and I have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins playing versus Kansas City, so that might be more of a high-scoring game. I just don't see this game being San Francisco versus Cowboys being high-scoring. So I'm probably sitting Dak.
Oh no!
Yeah, I just don't see Dak sitting back, carving up the 49ers for 300 yards and I just don't see that kind of game. This is going to be tough, gritty, run the ball. Maybe 2017 type old school, and just from a fantasy standpoint, you don't get no points with those low scoring games. So I'll probably say Dak. They're gonna kill me on Twitter.
You know what? I respect it. I respect that you're being very honest.
Hey, I'm 1-3. I gotta win. I gotta, everyone knows I love Kyle Pitts, man. I had to sit Kyle Pitts on the bench. I gotta do something, man. We gotta have a pep talk, because this ain't cutting it, man. I can't have.
They're not utilizing him the way that they should. I was hesitant to draft him, and I did, and he's been on my bench this whole time, and I'm just devastated.
He was sitting right there, and it was like the 7th round. So I gotta grab him. And then he ain't doing nothing. I was like, nah. No. So it's nothing personal, just business.
Yeah, exactly. Got to get those wins. Exactly. All right. I like to end on an inspirational question. This is just something that I like to do in my show. Okay. So I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, just how both of us kind of had the 2020 glow up where we started doing things on Twitter, and then it trickled into this content creating thing and everything. If there's somebody watching the show that's like, damn, I want to get into this. I really like what these guys are doing. What kind of advice would you have for somebody who's a little maybe nervous to start doing something like this and they want to get into sports in general?
Yeah, great question. I get this question asked a lot, and the thing that I tell people is just start. I think that's the thing that really stops a lot of people from getting into whatever they want to do in life. Maybe not just content, but whether it's fitness or whatever. It's just they just don't have the start. And a lot of people have paralysis analysis. I'll have people reach out to me and say, what type of microphone should you get? What type of monitor? You're worrying about the wrong things. If you have a cell phone or a laptop, just pull it open and start talking football and post videos. If you watch my very first video, this room was empty. It was a playroom for my kids and my dog. I just kind of took it over, and I had a little laptop, an old 2012 MacBook, and dropped my very first video. That's how I started, and you build as you go. And as you go, the main thing I always tell people is just remember why you started. It's not easy. I mean, Crystal, you see online, you're always getting shots. You're always getting people trying to tear you down. But at the end of the day, I remember why I started is because I love talking Dallas Cowboys football and just football in general with passionate, like-minded football fans. And I just keep that at the forefront, right? Because it's not going to be easy. You're going to drop a video. It's going to do 2 views. It's going to do 5 views. It's going to do 8 views, and you're going to think, why am I doing this? Is anyone even listening? But then eventually that 2 turns into 20, 20 turns into 200, 200 turns into 2,000. Then, the list goes on, and you never know who's watching, whether it's whether it's a big channel or a small channel, whatever, you never know who's watching. So, always just give it your all, make the sacrifices and go for it. And like I said, always remember why you started. So that's my advice to anyone starting to get in this industry or business of content creation. It's fun.
It's fun. Exactly. And that's fantastic advice. You know what? That's something that I started looking at, not so much the numbers, but who's looking, and it's kind of interesting. You get some of these people that you're like, wow, that person's looking at my stuff. Okay. Now you just fuel that fire inside of you to keep going and to keep, when you have the views that aren't doing as well, whatever, let it fuel you to keep going, right? So yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so
Thanks for
much,
having
Chuck,
me.
for being here. I'm really pumped for the game this weekend. I can't wait to watch, and I'm like tweeting away. Please don't take anything I say seriously. A lot of
No,
the stuff
not at
I'm
all.
very,
Not at all.
very cheeky. You know how I am. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
say
all
some things,
fun.
I drop the swear words and everything, but like
Right.
I'm very much, it's all love. So thank
Right.
you so much for taking the time. Before I end off on this, where can everybody go and follow you on socials?
Yeah, once again, thanks for having me. I enjoy it. I don't take anything too serious online. But yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at jtuck151. My YouTube channel is CFO Sports. So if you like draft content, Cowboys content, or even some 49ers stuff, I think a lot of people find value, especially during draft season, because like, for instance, I was a huge fan of Ronnie Bell, the guy you guys got that
I
not
love
a lot
him.
of prospects were talking about. He's actually here from Kansas City. So, I was like very high screaming on Ronnie Bell. And then all of a sudden Ronnie Bell kind of just booms. I'm like, yeah, see, I told you guys, Ronnie Bell. So, I think that's the value. And like I said, just come over. We always have a good time. Everybody's welcome. Come and talk trash as long as it's respectful. It's all love, man. So I appreciate all the support. And, best of luck Sunday night. And, honestly, I'm sure we'll probably see each other again. But I need to win Sunday. I need this win Sunday. I just need the win Sunday so I can just feel a little bit better. But, I think that, eventually in January, either I'm going to be out there in Levi or you might have to come out there and visit me in
I'm
Dallas.
going to have to. I love it. Thank you so much again. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Crystal Ballin. Next week, we've got the Dog Pound coming to town. So I've got the Queen of Ohio, FanDuel's finest. She's going to be breaking down the Cleveland Browns with me. She's somebody I looked up to in this space, and she throws a mean football too. So I am excited to bring her. Can you guess who my next guest is? All right. I love you guys. Thank you for joining. I'm sending you all the good vibes and wins for your fantasy season. Peace.
We could have been superstar, happy now, reminiscing, memory with Jackie Carr.